can't go wrong with Now It's Dark.
Hey everybody, welcome to Now It's Dark. I'm Jim. I just watched a movie on Tubi called Project Paranoia. 1 hour and 20 minutes. 2024 released film. I think this was worked on a little before that. It is a horror thriller directed and written by Francesco Monti. And it's about the disappearance of Andrew's wife, which lowers him into depression. But when a friend steps up to help him, deciding to spend a week at his house, things start to take a turn for the worse. And that is so accurate. When the friend goes to stay the week, things turn for worse. I mean the movie, the quality of the movie, and the acting. It took a turn for the worse. And I'm going to really try not to shit on this movie because I definitely understand this is a very, very low budget independent film with some people that are trying very hard to be creative. So please, my criticisms are not personal. But this movie for me was lacking in a lot of things. And the one thing that I think triggered me was the revelation that this is filmed in like a found footage style. And unfortunately, this very, very small cast and budget and crew fell into some very major found footage things that just don't do well. So uh again, I really don't want to like poo-poo this movie, but the lead character is Andrew Hall, played by Andrew Lloyd Preston. The friend is Sky Turner, and he is played by Luke and Yan. And at the beginning of the movie and at the end of the movie, we have Andrew's doctor, psychologist, psych, somebody maybe. They don't really say anything other than doctor. Judith, played by Miosha Bean. The synopsis: the disappearance of Andrew's wife lowers him into depression, but when a friend steps up to help him, deciding to spend a week at his house, things start to take a turn for the worse. As I've said, the tagline, you won't trust again. That's right, you won't trust Tubi again after you watch this movie because it's just really not that good. I was really sucked in um, by the rabbit uh, photo poster. Um, So it starts right off with a conversation with the doctor and Sky in an office, POV onto the doctor, and immediately I was seeing red flags. Um, this may have actually been filmed 100% on a phone. I'm not a, I can't say that for certain. It felt that way. Um, but this movie struggles with framing for me a lot with the characters. So the doctor is describing to Sky how these two connected. Don't really know because it wouldn't seem normal for a person's doctor to be sharing information about a patient with a friend in an effort to get the friend to go spend the week with that friend and film the whole thing so that the doctor can review that week's worth of footage to better analyze the problems that the patient is having. So the premise is not, it's a little weak. And Sky just happens to have a whole week that he can just go spend at his friends and film, uh, video. I don't know what the proper phrase is in 2024. You can't say video because there's no actual video. Yeah. Anyway, it's just frustrating. The dialogue is very forced. And I mean forced just because it's not acted very well. So it's like the dialogue is almost too cringy at some points, where the character almost seems like they are reciting the person's line that's speaking so that they know their cue to speak their line. And while speaking a line, this is throughout the movie too, it's hit or miss. It's like the person remembers that they're supposed to be inflecting a certain emotion during that line, and then they do it while the lines are already being spoken. There was one scene in particular that was, um, again, the framing, because we're using a phone, is really bad. And if you have two characters having a conversation, they were uncomfortably sitting close together, in my opinion. I would not be sitting that close to a friend if I had one and having a conversation. And um, during the conversation, and this is a part of Andrew's character trait, he has these moments of where he freezes. He just freezes, and then he comes out of it. And at the one time that he came out of it, he spoke very loudly, and it scared Sky, who is off camera at that point. He was holding the phone or whatever, but because of Andrew's facial expression and inability to keep himself from kind of smirking or laughing, you can tell that he accidentally scared the actor Sky off camera. And so he tried to rebound from that, but he really couldn't. So he ended up chuckling. Um, it was fine. They played it off fine. It's a part of their um, mid-level acting, whatever. And I know I'm not an actor. I don't know what they go through. I've acted in a few things. I probably am just as cringeworthy. Um, yeah. I'm looking at my notes because I don't have a whole lot, because a lot of this film is just conversation between these two guys, and some of it is so unrelated to anything. It's high school memories or college memories. Um, it just was a lot of filler. This was 1 hour and 20 minutes. If I hadn't mentioned it, I think people are afraid to just make 100 or a 1 hour movie. Like, don't be afraid to make a 60-minute movie if you have to cram 20 minutes of extra stuff in it that's just going to bore your audience, which unfortunately is what happened. I actually had no problem, even with ads on Tubi. I got up at one point and walked away and got myself a drink and came back with the movie still on. I was not afraid that I was going to miss any vital anything. Um, Part of Andrew's conditions also seem to be some fear of going outdoors, and also, um, I mentioned the freezing, but then there was also like a weird interaction when Sky got up to go to the bathroom, so he decided to take the camera. The bathroom of the house must have been in Andrew's bedroom, and then Andrew was completely covered with his top comforter or whatever, sheet, blanket, like including his head, when he walked by him to go into the bathroom. And when he came out of the bathroom, he was sitting upright, but with the blanket over him. And actually, very luckily, lucky for them, I don't think it was meant to be that way, but it fell down and it only went to his neck. So you could see his face, and he kind of like, there's a scene there, and, he says a thing. Um, but it just was weird. There was these very cringe interactions between the two of them on film. You could see Sky reach for the camera to turn it off, and then so it would go black, and then when it came back, you could see him coming away from the camera. Um, and that was fine. Like, I get that that's not bad editing. That was meant to be that way, just to remind us that he's filming the whole thing or whatever. Um, but then there are moments when Sky is just one with the camera, talking to the doctor about the day or his thoughts, and then the tension level between Andrew and Sky kind of increases. Sky maintains that he's just there to help. Andrew is definitely got issues and he's going through them. And, he just keeps getting a little weird. We find out through the exhausting conversations and progression of the movie more about Andrew's wife, who is missing. They didn't do a lot of conversation at the beginning, and I guess that would be normal. And then we find out Andrew's mental state through the progress. And I'm not going to spoil anything more than I already have, because there's not a whole lot going on in this movie. It is very, very slow. It's very slow. And that mask that I was so drawn to this movie is in it, but only a few times, like very, very brief. But yeah, it's on Tubi. It's free. If you got an hour and 20 minutes and you want to have a really slow, heavy dialogue movie in the background, go check out Project Paranoia on Tubi for free. Or if you're feeling generous and you want to pay Prime, they can take your money for $3.99 and you can watch this. If you just don't have Tubi in your area for some reason, if you're in I don't know where you are, that doesn't have Tubi, because it's in the UK now. But yeah, thanks for tuning in to this horrible review of a really kind of mid movie, Project Paranoia.